Hello, my friends! Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to SilvaCast. I'm Fred Silva, and this is the podcast made by an English learner to other English learners to help you to speak English with confidence. So today we have a special guest from Serbia. Her name is Jelena. She is a pronunciation coach, and she helps people to improve their pronunciation and master difficult sounds in English. So I'm sure if you are interested in pronunciation, I'm sure this episode is for you. And today we will talk about three things. First, the most challenging sounds in English and how can we overcome the challenge we have in those sounds. Second, the challenge each nationality has to pronounce certain sounds like Brazilian Portuguese, Spanish people that speaks Arabic, things like that. So this will help you to know which sounds could be more challenge for you based on your nationality. And third, we'll talk about difficult words in English to pronounce. So we will practice a few words that are really hard to pronounce, and you can have a practice with us. So stay tuned, stay with us until the end, and see how pronunciation can change your English forever. And before we start, I want to share something with you. If you want to practice English, but you don't have any partner or you don't have a way to practice, and you think, Fred, I need to practice. I know vocabulary, I know expressions, I know idioms, everything, but I don't have anybody close to me to practice with, or I don't have anybody to talk with. If you are like this and you need to practice on a daily basis, I want to invite you to participate in my English speaking club. It's called Silva Club. There we have sessions every week. 2 times a week we have sessions, and there we talk about communication, we talk about confidence, we talk about English, of course. We study English together with movies, with series, with this type of resources, and it's really fun. People love it, and I'm sure that you love it too. So if you want to be part of my club, just click below and enroll. So now let's get started. Hello, Jelena. How are you? Welcome to SilvaCast. I'm so happy to receive you today.
Hey, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here.
The pleasure is mine. And please introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what do you do, everything.
Yeah, so my name is Jelena. I'm originally from Serbia, and I live in the Netherlands now. And I work as a pronunciation coach. So I teach English, specifically pronunciation. And English is my second language, as I said, and it's my passion to help other English learners gain confidence and clarity. The same as I did when I worked on my pronunciation.
Oh, good. Please tell me a little bit more about your journey as a pronunciation coach, because this is an interesting topic and I want to dive in a little bit more on it. But please tell us a little bit about your journey, because I know you started a long time ago and you have been developing yourself, and right now you are an amazing coach. So please let us know a little bit more about your journey in this aspect.
Absolutely. So my story started about, let's say, 5 years ago. And I was already working as an English teacher back then, but I wasn't teaching pronunciation. So I was working with young children and I was teaching basic grammar and vocabulary. And then what happened is that my students started asking me questions about pronunciation. And I wasn't confident in my own pronunciation, being a non-native English speaker, but I also wasn't confident in teaching pronunciation. I didn't really know how to explain pronunciation well. And then I remember clearly, and you probably know this story because you are my student, but I'm going to repeat it now. It happened one day that one of my students, he was so young, maybe 5 or 6 years old, and he asked me how to pronounce the word water. And he said, "Oh, teacher, but why do you say water? Shouldn't it be water?" And I thought, oh, well, I'm not sure. So, and I this 6-year-old put me on the spot and I started sweating and I didn't know what to say. And that was the day I understood that I want to learn how to teach pronunciation. And then I started looking for resources, and that's how I found Hadar Shemesh. She's an exceptional English coach and pronunciation coach, fluency coach, and she has a YouTube channel. I'm sure that you're going to link her YouTube channel as well in the description. And I watched some of her videos, and she explained how to pronounce water. But then I really liked the simplicity of how she explained things. And then I binged watched her whole YouTube channel in one weekend. And on Monday, I enrolled into her pronunciation course. And the thing that was specifically interesting about her was that she's a non-native speaker too. And I love that. I love how confident she is. And I wanted to become so confident. And I enrolled into her course.
Oh, it's a beautiful journey. And that showed me that how important pronunciation is in our English study journey, because I didn't focus in pronunciation at the beginning when I was, starting to study English. And right now I regret, because I think my English could be better if I focused before in this topic, but I didn't did like that. So how important do you think pronunciation is, when it comes to fluency?
I would say very. And I understand that pronunciation is something that is not really traditionally taught in English schools. So usually we focus a little bit more on grammar, vocabulary, spelling, reading, writing, but pronunciation is considered to be a luxury problem. However, as I said, 5 years ago, I was an English teacher, right? I was already fluent, but my pronunciation was not as clear and I wasn't confident. So the piece of the puzzle that was missing in my fluency was confidence. And the way I achieved confidence was through pronunciation. So I want to go back to my story that I did that course, Hadar Shemesh course 5 years ago. And I actually did it 4 times, because I fell in love with the ability to change the way we sound. And it wasn't really about the accent. I still have traces of my native accent, and that's okay. I never wanted to sound exactly like a native. That wasn't really my goal, but I wanted the confidence. And then I fell in love with the confidence that I started gaining, and I fell in love with pronunciation, really, and with the fact that, when you move your tongue a little bit like this or a little bit like this, you can produce different sounds. And that's something that I wasn't really aware of. I never really thought, and I have to repeat, I was already an English teacher, but I never really thought that, oh, wait, but in my first language, there are 30 sounds. In English, there are, let's say, 44, depending on the dialect. And I never really thought about that deeply. Of course, I learned the theory when I studied to be a teacher, but I never deeply understood that. And then when I did that course, I did. And then eventually, Hadar Shemesh, she noticed me. She noticed that I was the top student, and I started helping other students. And little by little, I started volunteering for her, helping other students. And then eventually she decided to train me to become a pronunciation coach. And there was a very different type of training. It wasn't the same as becoming an English teacher, but it was very focused on pronunciation and very focused on different challenges that different people make depending on their first language, and how to notice those challenges and how to give feedback. And that's how I became a pronunciation coach. And now I work with Hadar Shemesh. I work in her company, and I help students such as yourself.
Yes, and you're amazing. So I love your sessions. I try to participate as much as I can, because the time is a little bit hard for me, but I like to participate more, because even a few things, when you get the details about the sound or something, and we are able to express ourselves in the way we need to express, I don't know, it's kind of magic. Because when I say something that's challenge for me, and I say it in a right way, I got like, yes, this is is so exciting, you know. So we get so much more motivated about to speak English, and we it affects more our confidence than our English, you know. So we get more free to speak because we notice that we are improving that sound and everything.
I love that feeling.
Yeah, it's amazing. And
Yeah.
speaking about sound, what is your favorite sound in English? I'm curious about it.
Oh, I think it's the a as in cat, probably.
Why?
Because it's a very interesting vowel sound and it doesn't exist in many languages. Though it
Yeah.
does. I mean, it exists in English and some other, but it's not that common. And then usually a lot of people struggle with it. And I love teaching that sound because it's we have to open our mouth quite a lot, like ah, right? And usually people feel maybe a little bit embarrassed or a little bit shy to do it. So I just love breaking that barrier and becoming comfortable with that sound because it really does change the way you sound when you start using the ah as in cat. And not a lot of people do.
Yeah, I think this sound is the same feeling when we try to pronounce the T8 in English. It's a little bit embarrassing because we don't have this sound, for example, in Portuguese. And sometimes it's quite of weird. But with time, we get better, and then it's okay to pronounce it. It's part of as Hadar always says, is about to create a habit. So with time, it's going to be so much more easier. But at the beginning, it's kind of weird. You show your tongue because when you say you need to show your tongue. So it's a little bit weird, but it's good. I like that too. For
And you did
me,
it so well now. Good job.
thank you. Thank you so much. Uh, I my favorite sound, I think it's the flat T. I love that
Oh,
sound because it sounds very, I don't know, very fancy, you know. Water, how can I say, another
better,
word, better. So I like that
matter.
sound. It's interesting. I like that. Of course, I
Yeah,
love a lot
that's a
of,
very, very American sound.
yeah, it is.
The
It
flat
is.
T. Yeah.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
when it comes to pronunciation, Jelena, what do you think is the most challenging sound for students?
The R sound.
The R,
I think, yeah, I think it
for
doesn't
me
really
include.
matter. Yeah, I think it doesn't really matter what your first language is. The R is going to be quite challenging. Not for everybody, of course, but for a lot of people. Because again, same as with the A as in cat or the TH, the R, the way we pronounce it in English, doesn't exist in many languages. So in English, we say right? And then, for example, if you speak Serbian, such as my first language, you're going to say r. Very different, very different. And then if you speak French or Hebrew, your R is going to be in the throat. So instead of red, you might say red, something like that. So it's very interesting because so many languages have a different type of R, and there's so many R's in the world. And this specific R, tends to be quite challenging because the tongue has to click in a very specific position, and it's inside the mouth. You can't really see it, so it's hard to put it there. And even when I think about native speakers, children learning how to speak, the R sound might be the last consonant they acquire. So you might hear, a native speakers who are very young, and they might say wed instead of red, or wheelie instead of really, because the R is quite challenging.
Yeah, I interviewed a few time ago. I interviewed one of our colleagues from New Sound, Christina, and she said that she's a native English speaker, and she said that some kids need to go to the therapist to try to pronounce this sound correctly because it's
Yeah,
challenging even to them as natives in America, for example. And
it is.
for us, it's quite of difficult. So I have been struggle with this sound as well. So and I think a lot of people had the same problem because you see, for example, in Brazil, we have Brazil is huge. We have a lot of different states. The way we say the R in my state is different from the south, totally different. So
Yeah.
you can imagine how much dialects we have and how much this influence our pronunciation in the R sound.
Absolutely. And I know that you have quite a few types of R. And in some dialects of Brazilian Portuguese, you even have something similar to the American R. I think it's in the north, but I'm not sure. I know that there's some dialects that might say something like but most people are not going to have that sound.
It's not in the north, definitely, because I live in the north, and no, we don't have
maybe
it.
in the south.
I think it's the south.
Maybe I mixed that up. Yeah, but I know that there's some dialects where I hear something that's almost close to the but not a lot. I mean, usually what I hear from Brazilian Portuguese speakers is,
I think
I know. Do you know it?
Yeah, it's in the countryside, a state called Goiás and São Paulo. They speak with a strong R. It's kind of different from the north, from the south, and I think they have more. It's more easy to them to speak the English R.
Could be.
I think so. Yeah.
But I think that the most common R might be the one in the throat in Brazilian Portuguese, like in the beginning of words. Like, for example, how would you say the word rat or mouse in Portuguese? No, in Portuguese.
Rato.
Yeah. So you see that sound is made in the throat, and it's almost like the H sound in English, actually. So that is very interesting So you have to think about, the sound cannot be here in English. You have to bring it forward, bring it to the mouth instead of here. So instead of hot, it would have to be r. So the lips have to round and nothing happens in the throat. So you have to completely forget about this contact here. And then the tongue pulls back a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is one of the most challenging things for a Brazilian, to make this R right here instead to make it here.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard. I struggle with it in words like red, like rat. It's a little bit hard to say because we don't have it like in this way. As you mentioned, it's more similar to the 8 in English than, another letter.
It is, but you're doing a good job. Just round your lips a little bit more.
Thank you. I'll do it. And
but it sounds good.
Challenges, thank you. Mm-hmm. Speaking about challenges, Jelena, what are the challenges that many speakers have, like Brazilian Portuguese, like Spanish people, French people? I want to dive in a little bit more in this because I know each nationality has their own issues or their own challenges. So about Portuguese speakers, what are, you mentioned that is the R, there is another thing that you think it's challenge to them?
Yeah, of course. So I want to point out something that maybe a lot of Brazilian Portuguese speakers might not be aware of, and that would be adding a vowel at the end of words if a word ends with a consonant. So, for example, instead of the word drink, you might hear drinky with like a very little E at the end. Instead of practice, it might be practicey. Instead of work, worky. So there is that little E at the end, and you're adding a whole syllable. So in English, when you say drinky, I'm going to be thinking, oh, wait, that's a word with 2 syllables. And then I'm looking in my mind like, okay, it's a word with 2 syllables. What is it? Drink has only 1 syllable. So it would be, that would be something that's affecting your clarity quite a lot. And why? Why does it happen? Well, because in Portuguese, you don't really have that many words that end with consonants, like in English. You have some consonants, but not as many. So it is quite challenging. And another thing that can happen, and it's a related challenge, is that you might drop a syllable. So you might completely drop a syllable. So instead of happy, you might say hap, nothing at the end, right? So it's those 2 things I would say are the challenge number 1 for Brazilian Portuguese speakers. Because if you add a syllable or you eliminate a syllable completely, you're not going to sound clear. So I would say, and I know that a lot of students think about the sounds first. Oh, the TH, the R, it's easier to notice that it's different. But this might not be so easy to notice, but it is very, very important, probably more important than pronouncing your TH correctly.
I have
so,
one
I would
word
say
that's quite funny when Brazilian Portuguese people, speakers say Facebook, they usually say Facebook,
yeah,
Facebook with this letter in the end. And sometimes, as you mentioned, we drop some syllables at the end, especially when you have a D at the end. Sometimes we don't pronounce it. Especially words in the past tense, for example, in the verb in the past
the ed
tense.
suffix.
We just don't say anything, and I know that affects our clarity. So it's a thing that I know because I face the same issues.
And I want to point out one more, and it's about consonants again. So it's about T and D. So in English, T and D are pronounced as T and D. But in Brazilian Portuguese, in some places, the T is going to become Ch, and the D becomes J, right? So, and then when you use that rule in English, it sounds very different. So, for example, when you say, like, I don't know, good morning, right? Bom dia, right? Like J. But actually, in English, that would have to be D. Like imagine European Portuguese, how they say it, bom dia, right? Or boa noite, or boa noite in European Portuguese, right? I'm not doing it perfectly, I know, but I think that you can understand.
You sound like a Brazilian, totally.
Obrigada.
Did you speak Portuguese?
A little bit.
Well, it's
a little bit, yeah.
I'm impressed. Yeah.
True. But European Portuguese, yeah.
Oh man, this is amazing. I love it.
Yeah. I do have to practice quite a lot, but it is interesting to think about what happens with T and D, because I hear that a lot. So Brazilian Portuguese speakers, when you speak English, you might pronounce T as Ch and D as J, and in English that just doesn't happen, and then it might sound very different to native speakers or any English speakers, really. So that is something to really practice, that T has to stay T, right? So, for example, number 2 might sound like chew, like I'm chewing something, right? So it could be, or for example, the word tease, oh, I'm teasing you, might sound like cheese, which is again another word. Yeah. So the word cat might sound like catch, again, another word. So it is, it could be quite challenging. It can affect your clarity. Yeah,
for sure. How about Spanish speakers?
Okay, so Spanish, let's talk about vowels for a second. And this is relevant for almost any language, really. So in English, we have a lot of vowels. So let's say in American English, around 16, depending on the dialect. And Spanish has 5 vowel sounds, a, e, I, o, u. That would be it. And then, of course, it's quite challenging to pronounce all 16 and to even hear the differences. So what happens is that Spanish speakers tend to merge some of the vowels or pronounce them the same. So, for example, the sheep and the ship are going to be pronounced the same as a short E, sheep and sheep. Or the pool and pull are going to be pronounced the same as one short U sound. Or, for example, the words bed and bad are going to be pronounced the same as bed and bed. So there are a lot of vowels, maybe even the cup and the cop might be pronounced the same. So merging vowels together, pronouncing the vowels the same, that would be number 1, I think, for Spanish speakers. But everything that I just said is also true for Brazilian Portuguese speakers. And then I want to talk about a couple of consonants that are relevant for Spanish speakers. So the difference between B and V. So for example, best and vest. Yeah. So in Spanish, I mean, in Spanish, there are the letters B and the letter V, but not exactly the sounds, because there is a sound that's something in between those two, and it's always pronounced. But in English, for B, we have to close the lips, best. And for V, the upper teeth have to touch the bottom lip, vest. So it's actually easy to correct this. You just use a mirror, look at your mouth, and it's easier than the R because it's all the way here. And this is easier. So B, V, that would be something for Spanish speakers. And also the difference between the Y and the J. That's also a common challenge. So the difference between yellow and jello, right? So Y, J. Again, the lips are very different. Y, J. And then one more, and then I'm going to stop. The difference between the sh sound, as in sheep, and the ch sound, as in cheap. So SH and CH, those two sounds. So for Spanish speakers, they might merge into one sound. So sh and ch. Yeah.
They try to simplify.
They
try to simplify and then they pronounce the same way, but that affects their clarity. Yeah, it makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I do want to say that I mentioned before that I work with Hadar Shemesh. She has a YouTube channel, and she has amazing videos where she talks about all the pronunciation challenges for Spanish speakers, for Brazilian Portuguese speakers, and quite a few languages as well. So maybe you could link those videos in the description. That would be amazing. But she has amazing videos and also a pronunciation guide as well for Spanish speakers and Brazilian Portuguese speakers that people can download.
No, for sure, I'll do that. I think it's very helpful so people can watch and see the difference. Is there any other language that you think it's interesting to mention that they pronounce in a specific way that they can correct and they can get better?
I mean, we can talk about so many languages, but because I think that your audience might be Brazilian Portuguese mostly. So I want to add, maybe not.
No, it's all over the world. Actually,
okay, good.
I think I have more people from other countries than Brazil.
Oh, okay. Well, I want to mention one sound that is relevant for a lot of people, and that would be the dark L. So the dark L is an L that comes at the end of words or after a vowel. So for example, bell or well or belt. And it's we call it a dark L because we make a lot of tension in the back of the tongue, and that's how we pronounce it. Oh. So why is it challenging? Well, because it doesn't exist in a lot of languages. So for example, in Brazilian Portuguese, you're going to pronounce something closer to an U vowel, or maybe a W consonant, something like W or U, something like that. So instead of people, you might hear people, like a little U, right? And even, when you say Brazil, I would say it with a dark L, but you might say Brazil, right, with like a little U. So that is something that you should work on. So put the tip of the tongue behind the teeth, and make sure that the tongue is there, because for the vowel U, the tongue is not doing that. So that would be for,
Should I touch my tongue to the upper palate or not to make the dark L properly?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, you can touch. Yeah. Like right on the teeth. Yeah, that's really good.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a lot of problem with words with the dark L and with the cluster R and L. Man, this is it's a little bit challenging for us. So
for everybody. And it's interesting that your challenge, it might be different with the dark L depending on your first language. So for example, if you speak French or Spanish or Italian or Hebrew, your L is going to be very light. So you might say instead of bell, something like belle, like very light. I'm not really able to pronounce it, but something like super light. So it's not going to sound like the dark L to English speakers. So then if you speak those languages, you should focus on adding a lot more tension in the back of your tongue. And then if you speak, let's say, Russian or any of the Slavic languages, we have a dark L, so we don't have to worry about it too much. Yeah, I mean, we might not use it exactly the same as in English. And what happens is that we might make the light L in English too dark. So there are challenges, of course, for us as well, but we do have something that's a little bit more similar. So, yeah.
I think you guys don't have the T8, right?
In Slavic languages, no.
Yeah.
No. I think that a Greek has a TH, or maybe Albanian as well, but I'm not sure. But I think that that's it. I mean, I'm sure that there's some other languages, but out of the research that I did, I found it in Greek and in Albanian out of European languages. So it's not very common.
Yeah, I have read about this. I think it's less than 5% of languages have this sound. It's quite rare. Yeah.
It's a strange sound. Sticking your tongue out.
It is very
strange.
The first time I was trying to learn this sound, it was one of the first sounds I tried to learn, intentionally. Mm-hmm. My wife started to laugh at me when she saw me because it's really weird. And even now, she have fun on me sometimes about this T8. But I don't care because I was like, I want to master this sound and I'll do it. And now it's okay.
But that's a great topic, actually, that sometimes, we work on our pronunciation and then, our family or friends might make fun of us. And I think that that's something that might stop some people from working on pronunciation. And I actually coached one student from Russia yesterday in our program called New Sound. And he said, when I pronounce the A as in cat, other Russian speakers make fun of me. Like, oh, what are you doing? Just pronouncing the A. And then, while he was imitating that, he pronounced it so well. But then when he went back to his normal speech, then he was mispronouncing it. So I said, wait, go back to that, the way that other Russian speakers might make fun of you. And that was great. So it was actually in his mind because he was able to pronounce it perfectly. But then he was just a little bit feeling a little bit embarrassed and I personally remember that when I started working on my pronunciation, I had a lot of issues with the flap T. I was not able to get it, not at all. And then I was trying to pronounce the word water. And then I did something like, I started from water. That was my pronunciation. And then I went into water with like a true D sound, water. And it was not quite there. But I kept pushing because it was closer than water. And then my boyfriend would make fun of me. And he would say, oh, you sound funny. What are you doing? Just say it normally. What is normal? My native pronunciation? Okay, good. But I wanted to improve it. And eventually I managed to say water. But I didn't give up when he made fun of me.
Thank God. I can see that in, people that I know that study English, they got like, they hold themselves back just because they see people in the same environment. They don't want to sound different, Even they are studying English, at school or an institute or something. If people don't speak in a standard way, they speak in a standard way. If you speak a little bit different, people will start laugh at you and start judge you, even you are speaking in a better way. And then I think people start to try to be more quiet or try to be part of the group and speak the same way those people speak, just because they don't want to speak differently. They don't want to be different from others. So I think this could, it's a trap for English students as well.
It is. It is, yeah, a trap. That's a good description, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, Jelena, let me ask you this question. I have a few words here that I want to see with you. What's the better way to pronounce it? Because there are challenge words, and some of them are challenged for me, and I think a lot of people have the same issue. So I want to ask you how to pronounce those words. So let me show you, and then you can help us. Okay. How about this word right here?
Okay, rule. So that's a difficult word because we have the R and we have the dark L, right? So rule. First of all, we have to pronounce the R. So round the lips, then pull the tongue back, and then think about the sides of your tongue, because the sides need to touch the insides of the upper teeth. I know it's a little bit tricky, but this is the contact. So 3 points of the R: lips, pulling the tongue back, and the contact. Right? Nothing in the throat. We don't want to say a rule, right? Nothing in the tip of the tongue. So we don't want to say a rule, right? So rule. Then we have the oo vowel. Ooh. So around the lips again. Ooh. And keep it long, right? So ooh. It's a long vowel sound. Ooh. And then we're going into the dark L. Oh, make sure that you have enough tension in the back of your tongue. Oh, and the tip of the tongue can be up. Oh, touching the upper teeth. Oh, if you speak Brazilian Portuguese, make sure that you don't go into oo, right? Not a vowel, but make sure that your tongue is there. Rule. Yeah, that was good.
It's hard. Man, I think I chose one of the most difficult words to pronounce in English.
It is quite hard. Can I hear it once again?
Roll.
Yes, but I need to hear the vowel as well. Don't cut it short. Rule. Good. Rule.
Yeah,
better.
It's really hard. Yeah, it's really hard.
It was the best the first time.
Yeah, I think so. It's because this sounds is still it's a challenge for me. So I'm working on it, because it's really, really hard for me. I think I never had a word like this, difficult like this to pronounce,
Well, your R is good and your dark L is good as well. So I think just focus a little bit on the vowel and try not to eat it, because you went something like rule. So your vowel was a little bit too short, rushing to get to the L.
Make it a little bit more longer, right?
Yeah.
So how about this one?
Ooh, this one is very difficult for native speakers as well. And it's rural. It's hard for me as well. So the way I would explain it is that we have 2 parts. So we have the R in the beginning, the same as in the word rule. But then the vowel is a little bit different, because we have the R vowel, so the same one as in the word poor or tour or mature. So it's or something like that. Technically, it's the vowel as in the word book or cook with the R after. So roar. And then we have the schwa and the dark L. So the last part is just ol. Make sure that you don't pronounce the vowel. So it's not the A, it's not like ah or something like that. It's going to be just a schwa. So the second part is ol. So rural. It's hard for me as well.
It's really hard. I don't want to try this one.
Come on, give it a try.
Okay. Rural.
Yeah. Better. Yeah.
My tongue's like this.
Well, we can practice more after.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Let me ask another one. And I like this one. I think it's really American.
Manhattan.
Manhattan.
Manhattan. Yeah. Okay. So we have 3 syllables here, right? Manhattan. 3 different syllables. And we have the a as in cat that I talked about 2 times, actually. So the word man, that's the a as in cat. Open your mouth a lot. So we don't want to say men, but man, man, Manhattan. So it's the same vowel, Manhattan. And then I think
Manhattan.
yes, that's really good. And then what happens, I think that English learners tend to be a little bit confused about this T sound because it's not a true T. The true T would be something like Manhattan. No, Manhattan with a true T. But it's not that common to hear that. So we usually do something like this, which we call a nasal T, or you might hear some teachers call it a glottal stop. Manhattan, with a T that actually goes through the nose. So the tongue can be in the T position, same as time or tell, but then you release the air through the nose. And then that's how you get that Manhattan or kitten or Hilton or curtain. Important. Yeah, that's the same. Yeah.
Good.
So do you
And
want to try it? Manhattan.
Manhattan.
Yeah, that's really good.
I think that the as in cat makes a great difference in this word because sometimes I try to pronounce man instead man, and it makes a lot of difference.
For sure. Yeah.
Good. How about this one?
World. Okay. So this one is quite tricky. World. We start with the W sound, rounding the lips. That's not going to be a problem for you as a Brazilian Portuguese speaker, but if you speak any of the Slavic languages, Russian, for example, if you speak Turkish, if you speak Chinese, if you speak German or Dutch, then you might want to go into something like v, but just make sure that you're rounding the lips for the W, w. And then we're going into the R vowel that we call the stir R in our programs, but it's an R vowel, So ignore this O letter. So we don't want to say something like war, right? So imagine that you're going straight from the W into the R vowel, into the Again, round the lips, pull the tongue back, and make sure that the tip of the tongue is not touching anything. So we don't want to say ara, and make sure that there is nothing in the throat happening, right? So were. And then you have to add the dark L. So remember the L with a lot of tension in the back of the tongue. World. And then you add a little D at the end. World. Can you try it?
World.
That's pretty good. Yeah, good. That was pretty good.
Yeah, this is tricky. I think a lot of people have the same problem with girl. It's even more difficult than world.
Girl. Yeah. Girl. It's the same, really. Girl. So we go from the G sound into the R vowel. So we're going straight into and then we have to end with a dark L. So I would say when you practice, take your time. Take your time on the R sound and take your time on the L sound. So don't rush it. Girl.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, that was good.
Thank you. One thing that I think makes a lot of difference is warm up. When you start to prepare the muscles to pronounce the words, it makes a lot of difference. It's kind of crazy to do that. So, but because if you do like mama me, mama may, or things like that, you can massage your jaw. But this helps a lot,
That is something that I learned from Hadar again. And in the beginning, I thought, oh, this is silly. I'm not an actress, and I don't have to warm up. I mean, why am I massaging my jaw? And like it's I felt very silly and repeating some tongue twisters, and then but eventually I realized, wait, but actually when I go to the gym, I have to warm up. I'm not going to start lifting weights. I can hurt myself. And it's really the same with pronunciation. So you have to warm up your muscles as well. So these are also muscles. And then you start practicing pronunciation. So it is effective, but I still think it's silly.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
But it works. This is the most important thing. Yeah.
It definitely works.
Yeah. The last one, Jelena, this one.
Unfortunately. So this one is challenging, I think, mostly because it's so long. So let's talk about how many syllables we have. Unfortunately, we have 5, quite a lot. And actually, the secret of this word is that a lot of the vowels are reduced into a schwa. So the first one, yeah, just a schwa, un. And then 4. So we have the R vowel as in door. 4. And 4, ch. So this is a schwa. It's not tu, it's not true, but it's just ch. Unfortunate, again, schwa. So unfortunately. And then we have the E at the end. I think that's usually not a problem. Maybe for Brazilian Portuguese speakers, maybe you cut it off. But I think mostly when you speak freely, I think if you just pronounce the word, you're going to pronounce the ending. But when you speak, you might cut it off. So we actually have 3 schwas here. And a schwa is what happens to a vowel in an unstressed syllable. So instead of a pure vowel sound, for example, instead of oo, we're going to say right? So unfortunately. And in this, can you try it?
Unfortunately.
Okay, so what happened here is that the T sound, and I said before, the T, the usual mistake of Brazilian Portuguese speakers is that you make a ch, right? But in this word, the T is actually ch in English. And this is an exception. So there are words like that. But now you corrected your own mistake from before and you pronounce the T, but actually here it is a ch.
That makes sense.
I know. So you said unfortunately with a T, but I need unfortunately. So it's a ch here.
Oh, got it.
Let's try.
Yeah, that makes sense. Unfortunately. Okay. Unfortunately. I don't know.
No, again, you're adding a T sound. So let's try each syllable. So
unfortunately.
Yeah. Unfortunately. Yes. Once again. Unfortunately. Yes.
Yeah.
That's good.
Thank you. Jelena, thank you so much. And before we leave, I just want to ask you the last question. Mm-hmm. If you could give just one piece of advice to a student that is right now stuck in the same level, they want to improve, but they don't know why. What you should say? Just one piece of advice.
Well, if you're stuck, if you feel stuck, it's possible that what you're doing now is not working for you. So it's possible that the practice routine you have is just not working. Maybe it was working before, but maybe you've reached a level where you need to change something. So I would advise you to think about what you're doing now and think about if you're doing anything, because I also see a lot of people just, let's say, watching YouTube videos. So getting a lot of information, a lot of input, but not really practicing enough. So maybe that's the reason. Maybe you're attending a different course, but you're not really practicing. Maybe you're not really speaking, just learning theory, but you're not practicing. So I think that would be one of the possible reasons of being stuck. But I would try to assess what I'm doing now. So this is what I'm doing. I'm reading, I'm listening, and then I would try to change something and see if I feel differently. Add something to your practice routine, or maybe even eliminate something that's not working anymore. But you can't be doing the same thing and expect different results. So you have to change something if you're feeling stuck. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And if my audience wants to find you or stay with you, where they can find you?
Well, as I said, I work with Hadar Shemesh, so hadarshemesh.com, and you can check out different programs that we have. We have a pronunciation course called New Sound, and I teach there every week. We also have a membership, a practice community called Beyond. I'm also there. So you can find me inside Hadar Shemesh programs. So I definitely recommend to check our website, hadarshemesh.com. And I also recommend to check out all of the videos that I mentioned, like pronunciation challenges for Spanish speakers, for Arabic speakers, Japanese speakers. We have quite a lot. So I do recommend checking that out.
Link down below, guys. Just check it out. Jelena, thank you so much for your time, for being with us today, and for the amazing, let's say, class, because I learned so much from you today. And thank you so much for being so diligent, and help us to improve our pronunciation. So I hope you can have a great day. And please, if you have anything to say, you're free to do it. Okay.
It was a great pleasure being here with you today. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I'll see you in New Sound, and we'll keep practicing.
Let's do it. Thank you so much. And guys, just stay tuned, because more things are coming. So have a great day too. God bless all of you, and see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.